Hi, it's Gab and Dad here. Gab,
Dad.
Reviewing our latest film venture. Well, not our venture, we didn't make it, but we saw it, The Informant.
With Matt Damon.
With Matt Damon.
This film is kind of hard to explain, but it's essentially based on a historical event from the 1990s when a large corporation, Archer Midland Daniels, was accused of, and many of its executives convicted of, illegal price fixing. And this was a result of an inside informant, a high executive who was working for the FBI for 2.5 years, taping meetings, giving evidence, and that's the person, a man called Whitaker, played by Matt Damon. And it's a complicated film because there's more to it than what I've just described. Because Whitaker is not just an informant for the FBI, he's also himself a crook, and that's a little bit of a spoiler, but not much, a sociopath, a fabulist, who himself gets into a great deal of trouble. I like this film. I could identify with it to some extent because of my background.
He's a fabulist.
I'm a fabulist, not a sociopath, because of my background as a corporate lawyer and my interest in white-collar crime as found in this book which I wrote, Lawyers Gone Bad by Philip Slayton. You can get it on Amazon, and I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful book. I wrote it. So I could identify with this. But my daughter Gabrielle, who has not written a book about lawyers, had more trouble.
Or anything. No, I just like to cut up movies that other people make. That's what I do. Yeah, I did not particularly enjoy this film. The source material is obviously very interesting, and the central character that everything revolves around, interesting, good performance.
Excellent performance.
Excellent performance.
And Matt Damon had to put on 35 pounds.
Well, that's no great feat.
No, but it's one we can all identify with.
Not all of us.
Well, we didn't do it for the movie, at least in my case. It wasn't because I was in the movie.
You were paid
because I ate a lot. I mean,
you did it for the love of food.
I did it for the love.
Okay. So yeah, I'm sitting watching this movie thinking, this is interesting, this is interesting. What I'm not thinking is, this is entertaining, this is entertaining.
It's not a good date movie.
It's not a good anything movie. It's based on a book. I think it would have been an interesting read. I was even thinking maybe it's sort of a play. It didn't seem cinematic to me. There's lots of movies that there's lots of talking and whatever.
Brainwashed everybody is because there's no special effects.
It's not because of that. It's because the material was not very engaging, and the one good performance wasn't enough. There were no other characters I was interested in.
Well, that's interesting. You say not engaging, but there was a real plot in this movie. There was intrigue. There was a story that developed. I mean,
but that's the material. That's the material. That's not the delivery. I think the main problem for me with the delivery of the material was the tone.
The tone was interesting. Explain about the tone. This is interesting.
Well, it's marketed, if you've seen the ads, as a comedy. Quirky, of course, ironic, cerebral kind of comedy, but it's definitely put across as you're going to have some laughs. And there were some chuckles, but the approach to make it comedic, where there were a few gimmicks that really lent itself to this.
Yeah.
The use of the score,
contrived,
yeah,
a bit forced.
The use of the score, very eclectic, odd score that didn't match what was actually going on at the time. And the other element was this voiceover of Whitaker's stream of consciousness. Often he's thinking about things that are, again, totally juxtaposed with what is actually going on. And the moments of comedy I did find were from these elements. But
I heard you laughing quite a few times.
Yeah, but those were scattered.
I would even say guffawing.
Maybe, but to me, those gimmicks were also sometimes grating and took away from what was going on. And in the end, I didn't feel it was an appropriate choice. I'd rather have seen this as a drama like The Insider, which it's sort of supposed to be a satire of, but I don't feel it delivered on that.
Yeah, and I also think that this is a problem for the movie when it comes to marketing and so on. What is it? Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Hard to characterize, and that's why I predict that this movie will bomb at the box office, because people don't know what it is.
And it actually has already had its premiere weekend and was #2 at the box office.
Just as I predicted. Well,
good for you, Dad.
Thank you. We'll see.
Stick to writing books, not box office predicting.
We'll see what happens next weekend, because these kinds of movies, I mean, people don't know what to tell their friends.
I think the mainstream audience does, and I think that it's attracting a smart audience, as it should. But there's only so many of those kinds of people.
Yeah.
I think #2 is really quite an admirable performance, and it will have legs, but it's not going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously differ on this. I liked the film. I was engaged by it. I sat in a docile, interested fashion for 2 hours.
That's how we like to keep him.
We like to keep, I was sedated at the time, and afterwards I went back to the home. No, I enjoyed it, and I was there with Cynthia, your stepmother, my wife. She liked it too, but you didn't like it. I'm not. Is it that generational? I don't know, but I would recommend it. Obviously, but obviously.
For my generation, I wouldn't run to the theater with your precious box office dollars for this one. And even in terms of renting, if you're going to devote a Saturday night at home to this, I think you could think of better things to do with that time as well.
Cut.